What is going on, everyone? Kim Coop, coach, aka the coach of your San Antonio Salamence here, bringing you guys some new type of content to the channel. So today we have a draft analysis of my team for Season 1 of the APA Ascension League, which is a Showdown draft league that is part of the APA, the American Pokemon Association draft league community. So yeah, it's a brand new mid-skill level draft league. All the games play on Showdown, so I don't need my capture card working for this, which is super nice. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this new type of content. Anyways, today I wanted to be breaking down my teams. Obviously, you can see from the team builder, already played week 1. So that upload will be coming shortly, but I just wanted to go through my entire draft first. Anyway, so the APA style drafts for this one, it was point based. So every Pokemon has a point value from 1 to 20. That's based on approximately how good it is. And you have 120 points to draft, somewhere between 9 and 12 Pokemon. Obviously, if you're able to get 12 Pokemon, you have that many more tools at your disposal to try and counter team your opponents, or that your opponent's going to have to try and prep for, which helps you a little bit. But at the same time, if you also go towards 9 Pokemon, you could also get 9 things that are just really, really good, and who cares when you have really broken Pokemon. So there's definitely some element of strategy to that as well. The other thing is that our Z moves in this league are restricted. So we had 25 points to give up to 3 Z moves. And the thing with the Z moves is that you could only have one Pokemon that could use all possible Z moves, so status and attack Z moves, one Pokemon that could use attack Z moves, and one Pokemon that could use status Z moves. So budgeting your Z move points as well is an important part of this. But yeah, let's just get into the draft breakdown and kind of how I constructed this team. And yeah, we'll get started here. So my first 6 picks. So we start off where we got a nice Mega Diancie. Pokemon I really wanted to use in this draft. I was picking with the 15th out of 24 picks. So, kind of pretty much middle of the pack there. And Mega Diancie dropped all the way to 15 for me, and I was really happy to pick it up. It's a fun Pokemon, really nice speed tier in 110. Has phenomenal offenses. I believe it's got 160 attack and special attack, as well as 110 defenses. The only problem is it has only 50 HP, which makes it super. It really detracts from its bulk compared to the rest of its really stellar stats. It has a really phenomenal ability in Magic Bounce, so being able to bounce back stuff like Toxic, status moves, also being able to bounce back hazards like Stealth Rock, Spike, Toxic Spike, Sticky Web, all that super valuable, as well as the Rock Fairy stab combination is pretty awesome. Those Moonblast coming off the 160 base special attack just destroy everything. You got Diamond Storm as its signature move, which is 100 base power physical move, and because Mega Diancie actually has a really usable attack stat in addition to its phenomenal special attack, those Diamond Storms are going to hurt a lot. It also has the ability to raise your defense 2 stages, so even if your Diancie wasn't going to live a hit, but you get the Diamond Storm boost, suddenly it's going to live a hit and you might be able to pick up another kill. It's also got some nice coverage. It's got Calm Mind to boost its special attacking power, and then stuff like Earth Power, Psychic moves like Psyshock. Yeah, so really good overall Mega. Really happy I picked this thing up, and try to build my team around that. So as you can see, second pick in the draft, we have a nice Latias. So the reason I really wanted to get Latias here is it gave me another good speed tier in 110, so another really fast Pokemon. Really well balanced stats across the board. Nice HP, special defense, can really tech it to do a lot of things. Also has the Levitate ability, so it can avoid the earthquakes that might be intended to target down my Diancie. Access to recovery and Roost and Recover. We've also got nice type stab combination and Psychic and Dragon. So we're getting 2 of the 3 elements of the Fairy Steel Dragon core in my first 2 picks. Yeah, Latias also, like I said, has really good coverage. Gets a lot of elemental moves, Ice Beam, Thunderbolts, in addition to, of course, Psychic, Draco Meteor, that sort of stuff. Can also be used as a good Scarfer, a good Specs user. You can run Trick to try and take out walls. Yeah, so really happy with the Latias pickup. And then round 3, miraculously, Ferrothorn fell to me, so I was able to pick up a Fairy Steel Dragon core in my first 3 picks, all of them being pretty good Pokemon on their own. Ferrothorn being a really bulky Pokemon, has a number of great type resists with Grass Steel, access to Stealth Rocks, Spikes, Leech Seed is always an annoying move to try and deal with, and also some good status moves and like Thunder Wave, Toxic, that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I was really happy with the first 3 picks here. So, if you look at Ferrothorn, it's weak to fighting and fire. Strong earthquakes are also going to hurt it, but luckily we have Latias, which resists fire. It resists fighting, and it's immune to earthquake. Great. Additionally, we also have Diancie, and Diancie is weak to earthquake and ground moves, like, Ferrothorn takes neutral from that. But again, another fire resist. Fighting neutral, but we have fairy types, so we can obliterate fighting types, or things that are like spamming fighting type moves against my Ferrothorn. We can obliterate Diancie, so yeah, pretty good type synergy here. The Ferrothorn, of course, is going to resist water moves that could be targeted at Diancie, steel moves targeted at Diancie. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the type synergy in my first 3 picks. And I wanted to keep going the bulky route with my 4th pick. So as you can see, I end up picking up Snorlax here. I feel like Snorlax was super undervalued in the drafts for like how much it cost versus how much I feel like I could actually do with Snorlax. Snorlax is so bulky, especially defensive, has a pretty usable attack, and has ways to improve its defense as well. So you got stuff like Snorlax under Trick Room. You can run Belly Drum and just pick up 3 kills while your Trick Room is active. You have Curse Snorlax to boost its attack and defense and really make it just an unkillable wall. You have Rest Talk to be a status absorber to soak up those Toxics and those Will-O-Wisps and stuff like that and just rest them off and then hit back hard with Rest Talk. It has really good coverage. It has some nice special moves if you wanted to opt for that route, but probably just stick to physical moves. But, it's got stuff like Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Pursuit, Crunch, that sort of stuff, Earthquake. It has 3 really nice abilities. Immunity, obviously you can't Toxic it. Normally when you think of killing really fat Pokemon like Cresselia or Snorlax or stuff like that, you think about Toxic. You can't Toxic Immunity Lax, so that takes away one way of really trying to wear down a really bulky wall like this. You have Gluttony, so when Snorlax gets below 50%, it can eat one of those 25% Pinch Berries and get all the way back up to full. So if I'm running like Recycle Figgy Berry Snorlax, every time I click Recover and eat my berry, or every time I click Recycle and eat my berry, it's like Snorlax has Recover. So fat Pokemon with reliable healing, also terrifying. And then, of course, Thick Fat. Being able to just soak up Fire-type, Ice-type moves. Again, Ferrothorn is, neutral to Ice. Latias is weak to Ice. Diancie is weak to Ice. So having a Pokemon like Snorlax that, with Thick Fat, effectively resists Ice-type moves, and given its really impressive HP and special defense bulk, it's a pretty darn good Ice Beam resist. So yeah, so really happy to pick up Snorlax here. I feel like there's a lot of things I can do with it each week if I decide to bring it, and it's going to be a little bit tricky to prep for all the possible sets I could bring. Anyways, moving on to the 5th pick that I've got here. We have Meloetta, and yeah, okay, I might have to fix this a little bit. Anyways, you got Meloetta here. Clean this up a little bit here so we can actually see everything fully. We got nice Meloetta here. So the one thing about APA that's nice is that Meloetta and Meloetta Pirouette are considered the same Pokemon, obviously, and both of them are allowed. So I feel like Meloetta has pretty good utility here, because all I need to switch between the two forms is Relic Song, which is a nice move, especially with Serene Grace. So it has that 10% chance by itself to put a Pokemon to sleep, and then with Serene Grace, that chance goes way up. So you have the chance to put something to sleep while you switch into a fighting normal type with a really phenomenal speed tier, and I believe it's 122 speed tier. So you're able to get over stuff like Tornadus T, base 120s, base 115, stuff like that could outspeed my Latias and my Diancie. It also has really good special attack and special defense, so it's a good Calm Minesweeper. Has decent speed, so you can use it as a Scarf Pokemon. Specs is also a viable option, and I ended up making this Meloetta one of my Z captains. I made it my Attack Z captain because, unfortunately, while Omni Boost is banned, so I can't use something like Z Celebrate Meloetta. This thing, because it's a normal type, gets really good coverage, so it gets stuff like Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, and it's got strong normal moves, Hyper Beam. I don't think I'd run. Probably wouldn't run Z Hyper Beam. Hyper Voice, Psychic, all that sort of stuff. All those make really good Z move nukes that you can use to try and blow away something. Additionally, just having the ability to have Meloetta Pirouette, I could also run physical Z moves on it. So if someone brings, like a special wall for the Meloetta, expecting to beat it that way, then I Relic Song, and suddenly I go for Normalium Z Return, or something like that, and blow away their special wall with a huge physical hit. So I really like the utility that Meloetta provided. Also has access to U-Turn, so I can bring in a heavy hitter like Diancie for free with the U-Turn. That's I really like Meloetta here as my 5th round pickup. And so we're almost halfway through the draft. I got my core in my first 3 picks in my Diancie, Latias, Ferrothorn, and then I picked up 2 mons that I felt like had pretty good utility and were kind of undervalued point-wise in Snorlax and Meloetta. So now it's going to be trying to round out the team with my next few picks. So let's make sure we can see the last guy here. We got nice Blastoise as the last Pokemon. So Blastoise wanted a bulky water. Unfortunately, most people had already taken a lot of the good bulky waters that I wanted. So stuff like Suicune was already off the table. But I did want some extra hazard control. So obviously I have Magic Bounce on Diancie as hazard control. But I also wanted some way to remove hazards if my opponent did manage to get them up. So I pick up a bulky water Rapid Spinner in Blastoise. It's also got access to nice moves like Refresh, Toxic. Scald, of course, is just an absolutely broken water type move. Ice Beam, Dragon Tail, stuff like that. So it's got phasing, it's got spinning, it's got hazard, it's got status moves. It can cure itself of status ailments and just kind of sit there with like leftovers. So I don't know how many times I'm actually gonna be bringing Blastoise this season. But it does give me a nice option if I do need a water type and a Rapid Spinner, and we're phasing if I'm bringing a lot of hazards, whatever. So I do like Blastoise here. Not too much else to say about this pick. The one thing I was thinking about is I do have a Fairy Steel Dragon Core, and it would be nice to pick up Firewater Grass Core. So I already have Ferrothorn, of course, for grass. So picking up Blastoise gives me water, and now I'm just looking for one more Pokemon. I'm looking for a fire type. So that's my first 6 picks. Let's get into picks 7 through 12 here. So 7th pick, I end up going with Heracross. So if you're looking at my team, I have a lot of really good special attackers. I got Meloetta, I got Latias, I have Diancie. So I really wanted a physical Pokemon that could do a lot of damage, especially because I already had kind of going into this. I was planning on picking up like Ferrothorn, Bulky Water plus Moltres. And so having added Meloetta previously, I was also planning on adding Magneton. So between Magneton, Meloetta, and Moltres, that's 3 U-turn or Volt Switch Pokemon. So I figured having both a physical Pokemon and a special Pokemon that really enjoyed being brought in, as your opponent switches out to whatever counter it's Moltres, or whatever counters the Magneton, or whatever counters the Meloetta, being able to U-turn out, get momentum, and bring in a really heavy hitter like Heracross or Diancie was going to be a nice team comp. And this Heracross is super nice in that it has 2 really nice abilities. So we have Moxie Heracross. So if you're running like a Choice Scarf set, you weaken everything, you put everything in close combat or Mega Horn range, you just click buttons, you get your attack boost, and you just steamroll through your opponent's team. Super great. The other thing it gets is Guts. And because of the nerf to Burn in Gen 7, you can run stuff like Flame Orb, Guts, Heracross, and your Flame Orb, instead of doing 12.5% like it did in previous gens, we're only doing 6.25% each turn. So your Heracross doesn't get worn down by the Flame Orb as quickly, but you still get the same power boost. You still get the +1 to your attack. So being able to fire off +1 Mega Horn, +1 Close Combat, +1 Facade, which of course then is going to be boosted by status. So it's 140 base power normal move coming off +1 Pokemon. Stuff like that. Really phenomenal. You do miss out on having the excellent speed, obviously, of Scarf Moxie, but Heracross does have respectable speed. I think it's base 85, so it's pretty fast, and just a massive, massive amount of power with that Flame Orb set. Can really just punch holes through your opponent's team, weaken them for an endgame win with like Diancie or some of your other bulky Pokemon if you can get rid of some threats. Yeah, so really happy with the Heracross pickup. I wanted to make sure nobody else sniped it, so I ended up taking it round 7, even though I felt like maybe it could have waited until a bit later. 8th pick, ended up picking up Moltres. Like I said, I wanted to round out my Fire, Water, Grass core. So here we go. Got another Earthquake switch in. It is weak to rocks, but Moltres, nice Pokemon. Great speed tier in, I believe it's base 90? Yeah, base 90. Like I said, it's another U-turner. Gets status like Will-O-Wisp. Also has Defog, so more hazard control. And then Fire Flying is just a really great stab combination. Yeah, I ended up making this thing my all Z user because I figured Moltres could be one of those Pokemon where if my opponent doesn't really have great fire or flying resists, I could run something like Z Sunny Day Moltres, get a +1 speed, put up Sun, nuke everything with Flamethrower, and then have stuff like Hurricane, HP Grass, whatever to help clean up. It's also just a really good attack Z move user. Stuff like Z Hurricane, great flying type nuke. Z Solar Beam is also an option. Stuff like that. So yeah, I felt like Moltres, kind of a cool pickup to round out this team. Something worth prepping for. It does kind of force you to bring rocks against my team, but then of course having Magic Bounce, you have to be careful that you don't set up rocks as they bring in Diancie, give me a free switch, and give me rocks on your side of the field. So yeah. I like the Moltres pickup. I like it as the Z user. Yeah, so that's pick number 8, I guess, there. So my 9th round pick, I ended up picking up Spiritomb. So one thing I was a bit concerned about was, some Psychic types are kind of annoying for this team, because Psychic types tend to get nice coverage, like, Shadow Ball, or Dazzling Gleam, or Focus Blast, and a lot of Psychic types tend to be fast as well, so stuff like Alakazam. You could run stuff like HP Steel to just nuke Diancie, which would not be fun. So I'm going to bring a good Pursuit, pick up a nice Pursuit Trapper. Snorlax Camargue is a Pursuit Trapper, but having something that's Psychic immune and has Pursuit, picking up a good Dark type in Spiritomb is nice. I wanted to pick up Drapion, but unfortunately I think that went earlier in this round, so I wasn't able to get that, because it would have been nice to have a T-Spike Absorber, as well as a T-Spike Setter, and something with, of course, a decent speed tier and Pursuit and Knockoff and all that stuff. But of course, didn't get it, but I got Spiritomb. Happy I got one Pursuit Trapper. I think this was like the last really good Pursuit Trapper that was available in the drafts. Yeah, this thing can be pretty bulky, especially if you slap like an assault vest on it. It can be a pretty reliable check to stuff like Alakazam or Latios maybe. I don't know. I have to look at my calc on that one, but yeah, it's got some nice priority as well. So in addition to Pursuit, trying to trap stuff, if you can win that Pursuit mind game, you also have access to stuff like Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak, Foul Play for physical attackers. It gets Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, so all around nice support Pokemon, good support, or some good priority that kind of makes up for its super lackluster speed. I think it also gets like Taunt, Nasty Plot, Calm Mind, stuff like that. So against like really slow teams, you might be able to get taunts off and like boost on them and use something like Rest Talk, Calm Mind, Spiritomb as well is also an option if your opponent doesn't really have any good ways of breaking it because it's only weak to Fairy. So if your opponent doesn't have Fairy type, can't hit this thing super effectively, you might be able to just kind of nuke your way through, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So right now, Spiritomb was the 9th pick. I'm kind of picking up stuff that I feel like is going to round out the team and cover some of the niche weaknesses. So I picked up a Pursuit Trapper here, which is great. And the other thing I did was pick up Magneton with my 10th round pick. Reason I got Magneton, I did want some Electric type Pokemon. Magneton has a nice speed tier in base 70. So even though that doesn't sound like a super good speed tier, with the Choice Scarf, it's actually fast enough to outrun up to base 130s, max invested base 130s. So stuff like Tapu Koko, you can outrun. And of course, then a lot of the base 120s and stuff like that, you can be faster than you can get Volt Switches off or Flash Cannon or whatever you want to go for. So that's super great. Decent specs user as well against a slower team. Being able to just fire off specs, Volt Switches, and switch into a better counter. You can kind of chip down bulk your teams that way. And of course, it also has really nice abilities, primarily Magnet Pull. Analytic is nice if you're expecting your opponent to switch. You get off that boost to your Volt Switch or your Flash Cannon or whatever you choose to go for. You get the damage boost. Sturdy, not super useful, probably for this. My team does have good hazard removal, so there's a good chance I could keep the Sturdy intact and maybe pull some shenanigans with that. But the main reason I picked this up was for Magnet Pull. Because if you look at Diancie, it really hates fighting steel types. Granted, I picked up one of the really nice steel types in the game in Ferrothorn. But stuff like Stellaceela does exist, Mega Scizor, regular Scizor, those all exist. So being able to have something like Magnet Pull Magneton, where I can either trap those really bulky Pokemon and get rid of them for Diancie to win, or just having the threat of Magneton on my team might force them to bring something like Shed Shell instead of Leftovers on a really bulky Steel type, which makes it that much more killable, especially if you're putting up rocks and spikes and stuff like that. If they're not getting passive healing from Leftovers, they end up being a lot easier to kill. So Magneton, it was really there to try and get rid of some of the Steel types that my opponents could bring to try and stop Diancie. So again, filling up the niche weaknesses of my team. We also picked up a nice Quagsire. Really got Quagsire to have an unaware Pokemon. There are some really scary setup threats running around this league. I think one guy has Blue plus Lucha, so that's a pretty offensive combination. Of course, plenty of Dragon Dancers. You could even say like Calm Mind stuff. So having an unaware Pokemon with really nice typing and Water Ground is great. Electric Immunity, which I think my team was lacking before having Electric Immune. Of course, you have access to stuff like Scald. Again, Scald is always a plus. It's such a broken move. Earth Power, Earthquake. This thing actually gets Curse if you wanted to use like a super physical unaware wall. You can curse up on really strong physical attackers, so even stuff like Charizard X then is not going to be able to break through you with like max attack Outrage. Of course, reliable recovery and Recover, super nice as well. Doesn't get Stealth Rocks, unfortunately. It would have been nice to have another Rocker on this team, but I really like this thing just because of its really nice typing and unaware. That's really why I picked this thing up. And then, of course, finally, with my 12th pick, so I'd kind of filled all of the niche roles that I wanted on my team. I got my Pursuit Trapper, I got my Steel Trapper / Electric type, I got my Unaware Pokemon, I got my Firewater Grass Core, I got my Fairy Steel Dragon Core, and then I think actually with Spiritomb, Latias, and Heracross, I got Fighting Dark Psychic. So I pretty much picked up everything I wanted in this draft. I had a few points left over, and I ended up deciding I want something that kind of can scare my opponent into prepping for a Pokemon. So I was thinking something like maybe Cloyster for Shell Smash. I'm trying to think if there's some other Shell Smash that I was thinking about too. I don't remember, but I was really looking for something with like that could have some really crazy offensive potential after just one move, like a Shell Smash. And I ended up picking Minior because this thing is kind of like a questionable Pokemon because it only has the base 60 speed to start and then base 60 offenses. So even after a Shell Smash, it's pretty darn weak. It's weak to rocks, so it can get chipped down that way. And all that sort of stuff, and like its defenses are only I think 100 when it's not in the Meteor form, so it's not like a super powerful Pokemon when it's in its Shields Up form. But looking at my team, I have Magic Bounce, I have Rapid Spin, I have Defog. So I was like, okay, well, I think I can cover the hazards aspect of it, and again, even at +2, you can make that base 60 go a long way. And then if your opponent does enough damage to where they break the shell, now we're looking at base 120 speed Minior, and good luck outspeeding that with any Choice Scarfer in the game. As well, Rock Flying is just pretty solid coverage. So we got stuff like Stone Edge, has access to Earthquake. You got Acrobatics. This thing also gets some nice special moves. It's got Dazzling Gleam. It's got Psychic. And it also gets Stealth Rocks. It gets dual screens, I think, if you really wanted to use something like that. So I kind of like the utility Minior provided and just kind of the offensive presence it could also put on my opponent to prep for in team preview. So that's ended up being my 12th pick. I think going through this, I think I forgot to mention that I picked up my Status Z user. So I had Moltres for the All Z, Mellowetter for the Attack Z, and my Status Z user ended up being Quagsire because it gets stuff like Z Haze, which is nice. Heal it fully, and you get rid of all the boosts on another Pokemon if you really need to do that. Doesn't make a huge difference with having Unaware, but for something in the back, if you needed to get rid of a +6 Calm-Minded Pokemon or whatever, you could do that. Also, Z Stockpile also to boost its defense and special defense, as well as give it a full heal if I really wanted to do that. That's an option on the table. So, yeah, and also just having the Z Crystal makes Quagsire take so much less from knockoff. So that also makes it a more reliable switch into stuff that likes to just spam knockoff too. So, yeah, that's an option. Anyways, that is the team. Those are all my 12 picks and my Z move users. Yeah, first time doing a draft analysis, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, and I'll be having that week 1 battle uploaded probably tomorrow. Anyways, see you guys next time with some more APA Ascension Draft League content. Till then, peace.